In the stillness of a summer night in 1962, the world's brightest star went dark. Marilyn Monroe, the blonde bombshell who embodied beauty, fame, and tragedy, was found lifeless in her Los Angeles home at just 36 years old. The official word was simple: probable suicide. But nothing about Marilyn's life or her death was ever simple. From the moment news broke, the world refused to believe that the woman who had everything fame, fortune, and adoration had simply given up. In the decades since, her final hours have become a labyrinth of contradictions and conspiracy theories. Whispered phone calls, mysterious visitors, missing records, and a tangled web of Hollywood, politics, and power. What was real and what was rewritten? This isn't another retelling of a glamorous tragedy. It's an investigation into what truly happened behind the closed doors of Marilyn Monroe's Brentwood home. We'll piece together the timeline, separate fact from rumor, and explore why her story still haunts the world more than 60 years later. Because beneath the glitter, Marilyn's death exposed something far darker: the cost of being America's most desired woman in a world built to consume her. August 4th, 1962 began like any other day for Marilyn Monroe. Warm sunshine pouring over the white-walled home. She had recently redecorated herself, a sanctuary she called her quiet place. She had spent the week balancing between excitement and exhaustion. Professionally, she was in talks to restart filming for Something's Got to Give. Personally, she was struggling with loneliness, insomnia, and dependence on prescription drugs. Her morning was filled with errands, phone calls, and visits. She met with her publicist, chatted with friends, and even spoke to her psychiatrist, who noted that she seemed calm but unusually introspective. By evening, she had dinner with her housekeeper and retreated to her bedroom with a telephone, prescription, bottles, and her beloved dog at her side. What happened next remains one of the most debated timelines in Hollywood history. Around 7 p.m., she made several phone calls, one to a colleague, another to a friend, all of which suggested she was in low spirits but not suicidal. Hours later, actor Peter Lawford called and claimed her speech was slurred, her tone strange, as if she were fading mid-conversation. He said he feared for her safety but didn't intervene immediately. At approximately 3 a.m., her housekeeper discovered the bedroom light still on. When she received no response from inside, she called Marilyn's psychiatrist, who arrived shortly after and broke into the locked room. There lay Marilyn Monroe, face down, nude, phone still in hand, surrounded by empty pill bottles. The world would soon hear the official story. But that simple image, a star alone, phone pressed to her cheek, would ignite one of the most enduring mysteries in entertainment history. By dawn, on the 5th of August 1962, Marilyn Monroe's home had become a scene of chaos. Police arrived just after the doctors and immediately began piecing together what happened. The bed was unmade, the phone still off the hook, and multiple bottles of barbiturates scattered nearby. On the surface, it looked like a clear case of overdose, but even in those early hours, something about the scene felt off. The autopsy, performed later that day, confirmed the presence of high levels of Nembutal and chloral hydrate, a lethal combination often used as a sleeping aid. The coroner declared it probable suicide, citing her long-documented struggles with depression, addiction, and insomnia. But for many, probable wasn't good enough. Questions surfaced immediately. Why were there no traces of pills in her stomach? If she had swallowed such a large quantity, shouldn't there have been residue? Why did her organs appear to have been washed or tampered with before analysis? The inconsistencies deepened suspicion. Some officers recalled being called to the house hours after her death, suggesting that those closest to Marilyn may have delayed reporting it. Others noticed that key items, including her diary and certain phone records, were missing. To skeptics, it seemed too neat a scene organized to look like suicide, not a chaotic one born of panic or despair. Her friends, too, were divided. Some believed she had simply grown tired emotionally and physically exhausted by the pressures of fame and loneliness. Others insisted she was excited about upcoming projects and new beginnings. One confidant said she had just bought a new houseplant that morning, and people planning to die don't buy houseplants. In the years since, the official report has remained unchanged, but the doubts have only multiplied. Each missing detail, each inconsistency added to the mystique surrounding her final moments. What should have been a straightforward medical report became the foundation of one of Hollywood's most enduring mysteries. Among all the theories surrounding Marilyn Monroe's death, None have loomed larger or proved more dangerous than her alleged connection to the Kennedy family. By 1962, Marilyn's fame had reached mythic proportions, and her rumored romantic involvement with President John F. Kennedy and later his brother, Attorney General Robert Kennedy, became tabloid obsession. The whispers had started months before her death but exploded afterward. Those who believed in a conspiracy argued that Marilyn knew too much, that she had become entangled in a web of politics, secrets, and power that could not afford exposure. Some claimed she kept a red diary filled with sensitive information from her time around the Kennedys' discussions of Cuba, national security, and private scandals. When the diary vanished after her death, the theories only grew darker. According to witnesses, Robert Kennedy had been in Los Angeles that weekend, though official records claimed otherwise. Some reports placed him at Marilyn's home hours before she died, suggesting a heated argument or a desperate attempt to end their relationship. Others said he wasn't there at all, that the sightings were mistaken or fabricated. What's undeniable is that his name appeared repeatedly in early police notes, only to disappear from the final reports. For those who saw conspiracy, the motive was clear. A scandal involving the first family could destroy the presidency. For those who saw tragedy, it was simpler. Marilyn was heartbroken, abandoned, and emotionally fragile. Both narratives have persisted for decades, feeding off each other. The truth, perhaps, lies in the gray space between politics and heartbreak. Whether or not the Kennedys were involved in her final hours, Marilyn had already become a symbol of beauty, of secrecy, and of a world where fame and power collided with fatal consequences. When investigators examined the timeline of Marilyn's discovery, too many details refused to fit neatly together. Reports suggested her housekeeper had noticed something was wrong around midnight, but didn't call for help until hours later. Her psychiatrist claimed he broke into the room, but some witnesses swore the door had no lock. Neighbors reported seeing lights and movement long after the supposed time of death. Even the way the scene was handled raised eyebrows. Photographs of the room were taken late. Key evidence was moved, and some officers later admitted they weren't sure who was in charge. By the time detectives finished, the story had already been shaped as suicide. End of discussion. But behind the official narrative, whispers grew of tampering and cover-ups. One rumor claimed her doctor and psychiatrist had staged the room to make it look like an overdose to protect their reputations. Another suggested outside figures arrived before the police. People with power, ensuring that nothing compromising was left behind. And then there was the missing diary, rumored to contain names, dates, and secrets powerful enough to ruin lives. Whether these were wild theories or fragments of truth remains unknown, but the inconsistencies are undeniable. Police reports contradicted each other, phone records went missing, and witnesses changed their statements over time. It was as if Marilyn's death had been rewritten by a dozen different authors, each with something to hide. The more investigators tried to close the case, the wider it seemed to open. What should have been a private tragedy became a public obsession, a riddle Hollywood still hasn't solved. And through it all, one haunting question lingered. If Marilyn Monroe really did die alone that night, why did it feel like so many others had a hand in writing her ending? Not long after Marilyn Monroe's death, her name began appearing in classified government documents. The FBI had already maintained a file on her hundreds of pages referencing her political associations, friendships, and social circles. She had been linked to left-leaning activists and had spoken out about social injustice, which, during the Cold War, was enough to place anyone under quiet surveillance. What startled researchers decades later was how much of her file remained redacted. Entire pages blacked out, timelines erased, key details missing. Why would an actress be under such scrutiny unless she had become connected, directly or indirectly, to something larger? Those who believe in the cover-up theory insist the government had reason to monitor her. Others argue it was standard practice at the time for anyone mingling with the powerful and the politically controversial, but the gaps in those records only fueled speculation. Some claim the FBI removed sensitive information linking her to the Kennedys. Others believed her death was discussed in internal memos that were later destroyed. Even decades later, when parts of her file were released, the blacked-out sections felt like shadows on the truth-teasing secrets that might never be known. For skeptics, these omissions became proof of manipulation. For realists, they were the natural byproducts of bureaucracy and Cold War paranoia. But for the public, They added one more layer of intrigue to a case already overflowing with unanswered questions. The image of America's most famous woman, monitored by her own government and dead under suspicious circumstances, became too haunting to ignore. Among the most enduring legends tied to Marilyn Monroe's final days is that of the so-called Red Diary. Friends claimed she had kept a small notebook filled with details from her private conversations with the powerful men she encountered, movie moguls, studio heads, and, allegedly, politicians. Some said it was a diary of secrets. Others called it a fantasy log, a place where she sorted through her feelings about fame, loneliness, and betrayal. After her death, that diary reportedly vanished. Her housekeeper, her publicist, her doctors each gave conflicting accounts about what had been in her possession that night. The notebook was never listed in official evidence. Yet years later, several people close to her swore it had existed and that it contained information so sensitive it could never be made public. Whether real or myth, the Red Diary became symbolic, the embodiment of every secret Marilyn might have known. In a world where her personal life had already become tabloid currency, the possibility of written confessions from behind closed doors was irresistible. Some conspiracy theorists claim it was confiscated by government agents. Others say a trusted friend destroyed it to protect her memory. The truth may be simpler, that there was never a Red Diary at all, only fragments of letters and notes inflated by rumor. But in a case filled with missing time and vanished documents, the absence itself became proof to many. It represented everything we lost with her: context, confession, and closure. If the timeline of Marilyn Monroe's death was murky, the testimonies surrounding it were even worse. Every person involved, the housekeeper, her psychiatrist, the first officers on scene, told slightly different stories. Small details changed: who found her first, what time they called for help, what the room looked like. In isolation, each inconsistency might seem minor. Together, they created a fog impossible to pierce. The housekeeper claimed she discovered Marilyn around midnight, but waited until morning to alert anyone. Her explanation was confusion. She thought Marilyn was simply sleeping. Her psychiatrist said he was the one who broke into the bedroom, yet neighbors later insisted there had been no signs of a forced entry. A local officer stated the scene appeared disturbed, as if it had been cleaned or staged before their arrival. Even the phone records, crucial to verifying her final communications, mysteriously disappeared. Theories range from innocent clerical error to deliberate destruction. In the absence of evidence, imagination took over. Some believe multiple people visited her that night, that she wasn't alone at all. Others insist it was a quiet overdose, exaggerated by decades of speculation. These contradictions became the foundation of every retelling, each new theory built upon inconsistencies that may never be resolved. What they reveal most is not certainty, but how truth can erode over time when stories are told too many times by too many voices. When the news of Marilyn Monroe's death reached the entertainment industry, Hollywood froze. Studios went into crisis mode, publicists rushed to draft statements, and executives began rehearsing their tone of sorrow while quietly calculating the impact on box office and reputation. Marilyn wasn't just a movie star. She was the industry's most profitable image, and now that image was tainted by tragedy. In the early hours following her death, her studio, 20th Century Fox, instructed staff to avoid speculation. Public relations teams were told to emphasize her fragility, her beauty, her troubled genius. Behind closed doors, executives debated whether the stress of Something's Got to Give, the unfinished film she had been fired from weeks earlier, had pushed her over the edge. The irony was painful. The same studio that had exploited her perfection was now mourning her imperfection for sympathy. Colleagues described an eerie, quiet settling over sets that week. Actors spoke in whispers, as if raising their voices might shatter something sacred. Some friends said the film industry failed her, that she had been isolated, overworked, and dismissed as difficult when she needed compassion. Others pointed out that the machine of fame had simply consumed her, as it always does, trading humanity for headlines. The studio's official statement was short and rehearsed. "We are deeply saddened by the passing of Miss Monroe, a great talent and friend." No mention of the pressures she faced, the exploitation, or the medical dependence that fame had normalized. In death, Hollywood tried to tidy up the mess it had helped create. It couldn't afford the truth that one of its brightest lights had been extinguished, not only by drugs or despair, but by the industry that made her glow too hot to sustain. If Hollywood panicked, the media pounced. Within hours, newspapers and radio programs around the world were spinning the tragedy into spectacle. Reporters camped outside her home, photographers bribed neighbors for photos, and gossip columnists began inventing motives faster than investigators could issue statements. The narrative shifted overnight. One headline painted her as a lonely woman destroyed by heartbreak. Another called her a victim of power and politics. Television anchors spoke with rehearsed sadness while tabloids plastered her face next to words like despair, drugs, death. Every outlet wanted ownership of the story, and truth became secondary to sensation. The coverage followed a predictable rhythm: tragedy, speculation, sainthood. Suddenly, Marilyn wasn't a human being. She was a symbol. Her flaws were rebranded as mystique. Her suffering was romanticized into poetry. The world that had ridiculed her for being fragile now worshipped her for it. But amid the frenzy, something more sinister occurred. Evidence disappeared. Rumors solidified into accepted facts, and false testimonies spread unchecked. When witnesses contradicted each other, the press filled the gaps with imagination. The result was a public record shaped not by investigation, but by narrative convenience. Decades later, this distortion would make it nearly impossible to tell truth from fiction. The media had turned her death into mythology, a glittering tragedy that sold millions of copies. To this day, documentaries and films continue to recycle the same contradictions because mystery sells more than certainty. Marilyn Monroe became the ultimate paradox. A woman known to everyone but understood by no one. The media didn't just report her story, it rewrote it, turning her from a person into a permanent question mark. Beneath the scandal, rumors, and endless speculation stood a woman few ever really knew. Norma Jean Mortensen, the name she was born with, had spent her life crafting an image that the world demanded, but her soul could not sustain. Behind every photograph, there was longing. Behind every smile, exhaustion. Friends who knew her in her final months said she was trying to reclaim herself. She was reading poetry, planning new films, and talking about motherhood. She wanted to be taken seriously, not as a pinup, but as an actress with depth and intellect. She was on the edge of transformation when it all ended. Her death froze her in time, forever young, forever radiant, forever misunderstood. The tragedy is that the world remembers the symbol more than the soul. Yet, even after decades of analysis, there's something deeply human that persists in her story: the search for love, belonging, and peace in a world built on illusion. If Marilyn's life taught anything, it's that fame is both crown and cage. She gave everything to the world that ultimately consumed her, and in doing so, became immortal. More than 60 years have passed, yet the mystery of Marilyn Monroe's final hours continues to ignite debate. Every decade brings a new theory, some plausible, others sensational. According to one, she was silenced by powerful men, terrified of what she knew. Another insists her doctors accidentally overdosed her and orchestrated a cover-up to protect their careers. A third, more tragic view, believes she simply succumbed to exhaustion and despair, an ordinary human end to an extraordinary life. These theories persist because the evidence never felt complete. Too many details were missing: the gaps in the autopsy, the conflicting witness statements, the vanished diary, the timeline that didn't make sense. For truth seekers, those holes became invitations. Books, documentaries, and investigative reports sprouted like vines around the case, each promising to reveal what really happened. But for every new claim, another contradiction surfaced. Some researchers have devoted entire lives to the mystery, chasing fragments of testimony and hidden reports. Others warn that the obsession itself distorts reality, that every new theory pushes us further from understanding the woman behind the myth. The truth is likely both simpler and sadder: a fragile human being overwhelmed by pressure, prescription medication, and isolation. Still, the allure of conspiracy endures because it offers control. If Marilyn was murdered, the B story becomes purposeful, not random. It becomes a narrative with villains and motive easier to accept than the chaos of loss. Yet maybe the real darkness isn't in a grand plot, but in the world that allowed her to fade so unnoticed. In death, Marilyn Monroe became something larger than life, an eternal symbol of beauty, tragedy, and desire. Her image was commercialized, her likeness trademarked, her name transformed into an industry worth millions. She became fashion, fragrance, and fantasy. But the real woman, the sensitive, artistic soul, often disappeared behind the platinum hair and red lipstick. Over the years, scholars and filmmakers have tried to reclaim her humanity. Biographers revisited her letters and poems, revealing a sharp mind and an aching heart. She wrote about loneliness and the exhausting pursuit of approval. She wasn't naive. She was perceptive, painfully aware of the roles the world imposed on her. Fame, she once said, will go by, and so long, I've had you. Modern culture has turned her into an icon of both empowerment and exploitation. Feminists see her as a symbol of a woman crushed by a patriarchal system. Artists see her as a muse of vulnerability. Psychologists study her as a case of identity divided between public adoration and private despair. And yet, there's a strange comfort in how she endures. Every new generation rediscovers her, the same gaze, the same laugh, the same question in her eyes. In a world where fame fades faster than memory, Marilyn Monroe remains eternal, but her immortality comes at a price she can never rest, because the world keeps retelling her story, forever searching for closure that may never come. After decades of investigation, speculation, and debate, one truth stands unshakable. We will never know everything that happened in those final hours. The witnesses are gone, the evidence incomplete, and the memories corrupted by fame and fear. Yet even without definitive answers, Marilyn's death continues to mirror society's deepest obsessions: beauty, power, and the price of illusion. Every time a new theory surfaces, it reveals more about us than about her. We crave mystery because we can't accept that someone so luminous could vanish in something so mundane as heartbreak or human error. We look for villains where there may have been only loneliness. But behind the blurred reports and missing files lies an unmistakable emotional truth. Marilyn Monroe was a woman longing for peace. She chased love, authenticity, and belonging in a world that loved only her reflection. That longing became both her strength and her undoing. Her story is not just about death, it's about the way the world consumes those it claims to adore. And perhaps that's the darkest truth of all. Marilyn Monroe didn't die of mystery. She died of being seen by everyone and known by none. Amid the speculation and chaos, there were those who truly tried to shield Marilyn from the storm that surrounded her. Her inner circle, her acting coach, Paula Strasberg, her psychiatrist, Dr. Ralph Greenson, her housekeeper, Eunice Murray, and a handful of loyal friends all claimed they wanted to help her reclaim stability. Yet even their care became entangled in the confusion of her final days. Some genuinely loved her. Others, critics say, loved the access her fame provided. Marilyn's vulnerability drew people in not because they wanted to exploit her, but because they wanted to save her, even as she slipped further into dependency on sleeping pills and sedatives. Dr. Greenson saw her almost daily, trying to ground her in therapy while controlling her environment. But when medicine, fame, and emotion collide, intentions blur. Her friends describe the pressure of walking on eggshells around her, protecting her privacy from reporters, her career from gossip, and her heart from the men who had hurt her. They were exhausted and terrified, watching a woman who could light up a room, yet retreat into silence within seconds. After her death, many of these people became targets of suspicion. The same individuals who once defended her were accused of hiding the truth. Some distanced themselves, others spent their remaining years haunted by guilt. The tragedy was not only that Marilyn died, but that those who loved her were forced to live in the shadow of her mystery forever. In the end, even their devotion couldn't save her. Because the real battle wasn't fought in her bedroom that night, it was fought within a woman torn between the world's expectations and her own fragile peace. More than half a century later, Marilyn Monroe's death is still being dissected, argued, and mythologized. New documentaries promise the final truth. Authors claim to possess lost evidence. Former detectives insist they were silenced. Each time the case resurfaces, it reminds the world how powerfully she still captivates us. Some researchers believe that overanalysis dishonors her, that endless debate transforms a woman into a ghost trapped in perpetual scrutiny. Others argue that continuing to question the narrative keeps her humanity alive, refusing to let her become just another tabloid headline. Both sides are right. Marilyn's story exists in tension between fact and fantasy, between privacy and publicity, between who she was and what the world wanted her to be. Every retelling keeps her memory alive, but also reopens the wound, Perhaps that's why the mystery endures. It mirrors the contradictions of fame itself. Even today, her name trends on social media whenever new discoveries appear. A photograph, a letter, a theory. Yet none of these revelations bring closure. The more we learn, the less certain we become. It's as if her legacy was designed to resist finality, to remind us that truth, like beauty, fades the moment you try to possess it. Marilyn Monroe remains both question and answer, both myth and mirror. The debates may never end, but the lesson they conceal is clear. The human behind the image mattered more than the mystery she left behind. The story of Marilyn Monroe is not just about a mysterious death, it's about a fragile brilliance that the world refused to protect. She was adored, idolized, photographed, and quoted endlessly, yet rarely understood. In the glare of Hollywood's lights, she became an illusion, a dream too vivid to survive reality. Whether her final night was marked by accident, despair, or design, one truth transcends every rumor. Marilyn wanted to be seen for who she was, not for what she symbolized. She longed for peace, for simplicity, for love stripped of pretense. That longing echoes through every theory, every retelling, every lingering image of her smile. As the world continues to argue over the details, perhaps the real way to honor her is to stop searching for scandal and start seeing the woman who tried so hard to live. If this story moved you, remember Marilyn not as the mystery, but as the message that behind every perfect face lies a person fighting to be free. Like, share, and subscribe for more stories that reveal the truth behind Hollywood's brightest stars and darkest nights.